I've spent the last 6 years using my background in science and learning from all the brilliant experiences I've had with my students. And now I've left the old style of teaching and taken the plunge to create new ways to grow myself for my students. The real question is, how will I help other teachers ditch the old mindset without rules or laws completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I learn, apply, and share real tested classroom strategies to grow my abilities and strengths using only today's best practices. My name is Juan Campos, and welcome to Seal It With a Smile, Self-Driven Radio. Hey everybody, my name is Juan Campos and welcome to Self-Driven Radio. I am super excited for you to join me, whether you're watching it on the YouTube channel or you're checking us out on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher or Google Play. No matter where you're watching or listening, make sure you hit the subscribe button. I am super excited for this episode specifically today. Kendra Smalley, an amazing human being, an amazing person, the love-driven action coach. Not only is she that, but she is also the CEO of the Life Coach Training Institute, both here in the DFW area and in the Philippines. That is right, an international businesswoman, teacher slash mentor slash love-driven action coach. I mean, she's just an amazing person. And I got to know her because of the relationship that I have with her, because she works with some of our most love-needed kids in our school. So she brings with her an amazing amount of wisdom, an amazing amount of energy, a presence, and we're going to talk about 3 specific things in this podcast. The first one being, what happens to those tough kids? Did you know that there is a genius inside every single tough kid that you have in your classroom? What is that genius? How do you tap into that? And how can you use that to help them be better? Not only that, but what do all kids really want? We actually go into that. What do all kids really want? Just out of life in general, but especially out of you. And the last thing, the most important thing, because it is summer, what are the 5 steps you need to take this summer in order for you to make your summer truly yours? I know everybody wants to be on the couch. I know everybody wants to watch Netflix and catch up on all their shows, and I get all that, and that's good, and go on vacations. There's nothing wrong with that. But you need to recharge. You need to refill your tank. How can we do that? How can you make that happen? Kendra's got an amazing 5-step process for you to do that. Again, she's the love-driven action coach. So get out your pen, get out your paper. She's going to give you the 5 steps that you need to make this summer really yours, really memorable, and really fill yourself up so that you're ready to go come fall. Check out this podcast episode. Check out the video. It's an amazing episode. I mean, honestly, it's well worth watching. Get out that paper, get out that pencil, and I'll see you at the end.
Okay. See me?
Oh, let's see. One. I'm tagged. Oh, it's on.
It's on. All right, let's go. Let's do this.
It's on.
Hello. We should be on. Everything should be working.
Yep.
All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing? My name is Juan Campos, Seal With a Smile. This is the lovely Kendra Smalley, love-driven action coach. I love that. It's fire. It's so fire. Anyways, she motivates through activity. And let me tell you a little bit about her, because she's a fabulous woman. I mean, a little brief history, okay? You come across people as a teacher, you come across people all the time in a building, and you're always kind of wondering, like, what does she do or what does he do? You know, because you don't really know. Well, I've come across for a few years, I had no idea what she did, because she always looked amazing. She came whenever she wanted to. She popped into my room whenever she felt like. I never knew why she popped in. Well, I mean, I knew why, but like I never knew what her schedule was. Like I never knew anything. And she just always was never in a rush. Like, you were never in a rush. You've never been in a rush. I've never seen you rushing to do anything. And when you're in education and you're, you know, a teacher or whatever, you're always trying to like do this and that and the other, and you've never been that way, ever.
No.
And so one day, I think it was like either last year or the year before, we had one child in particular. I don't know if you remember him or not, but
Do I not remember him?
And we would talk about him, and we would just gotten to know each other. And then I find out that you're the what don't you do? Okay, so you founded Hype Kidz Nation, which is an organization to help inner city youth. You are also a behavior specialist, which is what you do here at the school. You actually work with kids that have all sorts of issues.
Yeah.
You are the CEO of the Life Coach Training Institute, which is not only certified here in Dallas to help people create life coaches, but you also have a business in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And you're certified in the Philippines, and you actually you create life coaches, you help build them.
We develop, train life coaches there.
And you impact the people that need the life coach help.
Yeah.
So it's like, so what I'm saying is, I would never think that, because as a teacher, you're always, you're caught up in your day-to-day, and you're not really wondering, well, what does he do, what does she do? But you have such a presence about you. And the kids that you work with are so, and I'm not going to use the word troubled. I'm going to say the word, they need love.
Yeah, they do.
And these kids need love. And I've seen you give these kids love in a way that is not, I would say, what other people think is love, because you're mean to them. You'll call them out. Because I've seen you. You're nasty.
I'll be like, oh, poor kids.
And sometimes you're nasty with them, and sometimes you're mean with them. But the thing is, you're talking to them on a level that they understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're not ever coming to them. You're always coming to them with love.
Yeah, never demeaning them.
No, it's never demeaning.
Yeah.
And they get that. And they get that, and they flow with that. And when I've seen you talk to these kids, I mean, I've seen you talk to kids down, off a ledge sometimes, just not a ledge, not a physical ledge, but just when they're so emotionally, they're just like ready to pop. Yeah. And you're just not like that. Yeah. And it's just been amazing. So, and getting to know you all these years now, now that I realize what you do, it's just like,
it makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It makes sense where the skills come from.
Yes. But before we get into the 5 tips, because we're gonna give you, and this is not just for teachers, this is for anybody. Yeah. It's 5 steps to help make your summer truly your summer, because
I love that.
Because teachers and not just, everybody, but especially teachers, we think the summer is just for like sitting on a couch and catching up with TV and not doing anything, and maybe if you can afford it, a vacation, but just to like not do anything. Yeah. But that's not really what it could be. Right. Your summer could really be about recharging your spirit, refilling that tank, because teachers are tired, but we're tired because we give love. If you're truly in this profession, if you're truly someone that cares about kids, you are giving love. Yeah, unconditionally. 24/7. And it's not because these kids, don't need love. It's because that one child will need that love in that specific way. And sometimes you're just going to give it because it's the right thing to do. Right. So that's what we're going to talk about, the 5 steps to making your summer truly your summer. But before we get into that, I want to get into a little bit more about you, because you have such an amazing story. And to me, part of your story, your whole story is your journey and what allowed you to be who you are today. So I'm not going to preface it or anything. I just want you to flow, and I just kind of want to tell you, or give the opportunity to just kind of say, how did a love-driven action coach, how did you start? Like, where did you come from?
From Mars. I feel like I'm from another planet sometimes.
But it's true, though. It's true, because not a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people even take the time to understand you. Yeah. Yeah. And here's the other thing, and I don't want to cut you off, but you're such a presence wherever you go. that I almost feel like you're kind of intimidating, and not meaning to be intimidating, but you're just such a, and you're not like an overpowering presence. You just, when you come into a room, it's like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I have arrived. That was a practice though. So just a little bit about who I am and where I come from. Like, I'm a native of Dallas, and a lot of people don't know that. Like, I was born and raised here. And I'm from West Dallas. So West Dallas considered like the hood. And I was just really privileged to have a great mother and a great grandmother. Like, I had two dynamite, strong black women. Story about, my mother being a drug addict, and she went to prison, and she suffered from depression. But you would have never known that even about my mother unless she shared it with you. And in spite of her own insecurities and her own problems, it never really affected us, because it was like, these are my issues, but this is your life, right? And so I need to put you on this road so you can understand that you get to make choices, right? And so with those choices, so even us as a young age, like, I grew up like very intelligently, because we had intelligent conversations in my household, because it was like a life or death situation. It was like either my offsprings can follow my footsteps, or I have to like figure out a way to give them another path, and it's a life or death situation for them, because I don't want them to follow my footsteps. So what my mother and grandmother did very, very strategically with my brother and I was just gave us a different lifestyle. And that means that they had to work hard. Like, my grandmother worked 2 or 3 jobs. My mom worked 2 or 3 jobs to afford us the type of lifestyle we had growing up, because we didn't want for anything, know. And I think that's just the difference. So I started being very analytical at a young age. Emotional intelligence played a big part in my household, and values and how I was raised and how I was able to make decisions. So my upbringing was totally different than a lot of my friends. I went to all white camps. I had to go to a camp like every summer, so I didn't have to be in a neighborhood. We were bused to Irving, so we were in an all white district. So I just had a different upbringing, and it kind of made me just I had a different perspective of how I looked at life at a young age, and to watch the struggle. So to watch my mother go through struggle and then like triumphant over that, like become like a superwoman to me. Like, I watched that with my own eyes, and so I know that you can go through pain and surrender to the pain and become great, because she was like my biggest influencer in life. 100%. Like 100%. Like, start her own business and make it a successful business, and it grew, into other states. And I was like this is the same woman, who went to prison, who was a drug addict, who suffers from depression, who has, multiples of, disabilities, and you would never know that about her, because she didn't wear her pain. So I was able to see that. And then from a grandmother who, retired from Texas Instruments.
Wow.
Yeah, like the first black woman on her assembly line to retire from Texas Instruments, to start a daycare and, raise half of the community. So, we had the service part, we had the church part, we had just all of these different components. And it was different. Yeah. I was raised very differently. Yeah. So it kind of has molded me, which is why I'm so versatile in like what I want to do. Like, I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I was young.
What did you want to do?
I wanted to be a psychologist. That's what I wanted to. I was like, how can I help these crazy people in my house?
Okay, but see, you saw the crazy because of your perspective. Because you could have been easily involved in the crazy and just think, well, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, I could have, but it was unacceptable in my household. I was raised in a household of excellence, like, and then you got to remember, I struggled. I suffered from a learning disability, so it was hyperkinetic.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, which was ADHD at the time. It's called ADHD.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So I was diagnosed with ADHD at the time in a black household, which is like, we don't speak of those type of things. Like, our kids don't suffer from stuff, right? And so my mother was like, but we have to embrace this. And I was even thinking, I was like, I don't really think no one really knew but my mother and my grandmother, because I remember having a private tutor. I remember my grandmother working at Texas Instruments, and I had every learning computer there, because it was like, she's not a dummy. And I had to repeat a grade. A lot of people don't know that I repeated a grade. So I didn't graduate until I was 19. So I had to repeat a grade. And I tell the story about, so I had an imaginary friend growing up, right? Because I have this interactive brain, so a lot of stuff going, like even now. So a lot of stuff going up here. And I had this imaginary friend, and I wrote a letter, and I was like 6 or 7. I wrote this letter to my imaginary friend that was being bad. So she was being bad at the time. And I'm a creative writer. Like, I write really well. I'm an emotional writer, not technical. And the school, my teacher invaded my privacy and found the letter and read it. The school called CPS. They called the police. Like, everybody was at the school. My mom had to come to the school because the letter was talking about abuse. So my imaginary friend, you know, was starving the child, like all this, doing all this. Yeah. And so they're thinking I'm talking about my mother. Right? So my mom comes to the school, she's like hot, like, what is going on? You know, they won't let me see her. They're interviewing me, like, in the counselor's office. They're interviewing her. Finally, when she says who are the names that she's mentioning, because this is my child.
Right.
And she's like, oh, those are her imaginary friends. The school's like, what? They was like, what? She writes to them. That's how she expresses. That's how we know what's going on with her, because the Kendra doesn't do a lot of talking. And they was like, wow. So the counselor who studied psychology, that was her background, was like, oh, she has this creative, like, they give it a name, like, get tested, and they're like,
oh, she's like a genius.
Yeah, right. So let's test her, right? We need to test her. And so I tested gifted and talented in like 3 different areas, you know, which is expression and creativity. Right. So that's that part of my brain. And then they shipped me off to another school. I should get shipped off to a specialty school. And that's when that's when I started to really blossom.
Because they gave you what you needed.
They gave me what I needed, because I'm bored in your school, right? So they shipped me off to a specialty school, and that's kind of like that's when I blossomed.
That's when you blossomed.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's almost like it was an outcry, but not really an outcry because anything happened to you. It's an outcry because you have this gift.
Yeah.
And you're just like, somebody help me. Like, you know.
Yeah, like, what do I do? What do I do with all this stuff? And then at home, my mom was just like, because she's in a controlled environment at home, so she's fine here. It's just when she's in this big environment, you know, and she's finishing her work, she's bored, she's not paying attention to you guys. Like literally, even now, you could be talking to me, and I can go to a whole nother world in my head and not hear anything you say. So the kids I work with, I get them. I get my kids so well.
Okay, but and I'm not going to go too far on a tangent, but isn't that 90, I'm going to throw a number, isn't that 90% of the behavior problems though? I mean, honestly, isn't that so much of what you see in the classroom? It's not that kid is bad.
Yeah, they're not bad.
They're not bad. Mm-mm. Kids are not bad. They're unfocused. Mm-hmm. They don't have an outlet. Mm-hmm. They may not have the resources to understand what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. But kids are just not bad.
No, and you know what? And the thing about troubled kids is the greatest tool that they have, or value that they have, is resiliency. Because those kids experience so much pain in their household. So you're talking about kids who, who have parents who are addicted to drugs, they're, alcohol abuse, emotional abuse, abandonment. Like these kids who really have severe behavior problems, it comes from some type of post-traumatic stress, some type of, incident that has happened in their early age. So they have a high sense of resiliency. So put them in a school who's not serving them, then they're just going to be who they are, right? But if you serve them, they can roll with any type of punches. They can operate and function if you're serving them properly, and so that's where I fit into a school, and that's the reason why my kids thrive, because I know how to serve them. Because it's not that they're incapable, you're just not serving them the proper way. So you gotta keep in mind that they have all of this emotional baggage. They have 50% more than the average student, right? Then they have this something that's very unique about them, because they've experienced some type of trauma that an average child hasn't experienced. So it has allowed them to tap into a part of the brain that we normally wouldn't get to until we're about 25 years old. They tap into it so much earlier, which is the reason why they so grown, right? And they need to help somebody to cultivate that, like, which is their genius part, like what they're really good at, okay? And that's the reason why they're so out of control, because they're bored and they want to experience everything, like everything they just want to get into, right? So you got to have somebody who can help will it in. Then you have the academic part. That's last.
Right.
So we got to get this stuff together first before we can even get to this part. So my job for you guys is to help them to cultivate this middle part, which is what they're really good at, right? So I figure out, they're great drawers. Like you can draw good, you can sing, you can play the guitar, you're a good athlete, you're a good writer, you're a good speaker. Like, the student that we had together, I would put him up against Johnny Cochran. If you just to help him cultivate that, because he's tapped into a part of his brain that the average human being don't even tap into till they're like mid-20s. He already know, because he's already experienced so much, and that resiliency has helped him to find a safe space. And most safe spaces that people go to when they're in trauma is where they're gifted.
Right. Wow. That's an amazing observation.
Yeah, because I know, because I lived it. So at a young age, I experienced trauma, and where I was safe is where I was gifted, which is writing. So I know how to, because I have that skill set. That's the first thing that I spend the first 3 months of school. I spend trying to figure out where they're gifted, and they're going to show me after they see that I respect them, that I don't judge them, and that I'm open to learning about them. So maybe like after the first 6 weeks of school, I know everything I need to know about the kid.
So let's take what you just said. Okay, so you have this child, and I'm gonna unpack what you said a little bit. So you take this child that has gone through trauma, abuse, etc. And because of the need for survival and resiliency, their brain is like, okay, I'm going to dig deep to figure out how we're going to stay alive. And it taps into that genius part, their survival mechanism, what they're good at, imagination, creativity, whatever they can do to make sense of the horrible things that are happening to them. And it just opens up this super crazy world. And they start using it. So they're gifted and this, and then they become comfortable. And that's where that resiliency comes from, where they can say, this is nothing to me.
Nothing.
This is nothing.
They're so unapologetic.
They're unapologetic because, and truly, because when you come up to them and you're like, you're going to go to detention,
they be like, who are you talking to?
Well, number one, but what's detention?
Right.
Because guess what? My dad just beat me, and I just saw him throw up in the middle of the night, or I had XYZ happen to me. So what's a detention?
Yeah.
Now, let's compare that to what you would say a typical teacher would be maybe never went through that kind of trauma, went to school, went to college, never really had those kinds of traumatic experiences, fresh out of school, wants to save the world, very optimistic, hasn't really lived that kind of life. You put them in a classroom up against someone that has seen some real shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
How do you even do that?
I feel so sorry for y'all.
How do you even... No, but it's true.
I've never wanted to be a teacher. Like, it's very hard. It's even hard for me to work in the school, honestly.
I see that. Because
I have to work with all of the teachers. So, however many kids I may have, then I have their teachers times, 8? Right? It's eight classes they go to. And it's very hard for me to try to communicate, like, to teach the teacher about empathy and compassion. I have to always start, like, I'm not talking to you about academics. I get he has 15 zeros in your grade book. Like I used to tell you. Right. I get he has 15 zeros in your grade book. But we're talking about empathy and compassion right now. I'm talking to you about, I don't even care about the art paperwork. I don't even care about that.
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. How many private conversations have you had with him? How many times have you called home? How many times?
Do you even look him in the eye?
Yeah.
Do you acknowledge that he's even in
the I have 200 and, how many kids you got?
217.
Well, I have 217 kids, Miss Smalley. Yeah, but I don't care about, and I hate to say that, because, when I'm in my meetings, it's like, it's all kids, but I'm like, no, it's just mine, because mine are the only ones that's treated like this.
Okay, but see, okay, but that's why you are effective.
Yeah,
because that's my kid.
It's just I just gotta take care of mine, because mine's gonna go through the ringer and back, right? And so they have no one to defend them, right? So I defend you as long as I can defend you, right? And so trying to teach that to 30-something teachers, that I'm working with it's grueling sometimes, because some of them don't get it. Some of them are so springy, and it's just like, well, it's black and white. This is what I have to follow. And I'm just like, each individual student, all 208 of your kids are individual. They're individualized.
Yeah.
And until you can get that, like, until you and I've seen some like kick-ass teachers, like, they get it. And my kids thrive in, like, I don't even have no problems. They thrive, like, in your classroom. They thrive in your rooms. And it's because you get it, because you know that it's about the individualized student. Like, it's what, they don't share the same heart. They all have different hearts. And if you can teach to that, and sometimes, and I get it, because I don't understand y'all's dynamic of educators, because I don't live in your world. But sometimes you just gotta step outside of that world in order for you to be effective, and it's okay to do that. Sometimes you have to check, like you said, I just see you walking around, you come in when you want to. Oh, trust me, I get in trouble, but how do you even care?
Because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because I am being effective with my students. You don't ever have to worry about this 6 over here. I got them, right? And sometimes you have to just kind of push the boundaries sometimes in your workplace in order for you to be effective.
Right.
And that's really what needs to happen in education.
Because truthfully, when you do that, then you're really serving the child.
You're really serving the child. So like what you're doing right now, like when I get your emails and stuff, I'm just like, this is amazing. Get it, Mr. Campos. Like the stuff that you're talking about, it's not even realistic. Shit is not happening. You understand? And I said, I know it's the administrators rolling their eyes. Everybody is rolling their eyes at Mr. Campos, because what you're talking about is having an emotional intelligent classroom.
Right.
EQ, not even IQ. We're not even talking about IQ
because it's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant. And so, like, you get it, and you have disrupted our emails.
Did I really? How do you know?
You have disrupted our emails to where you've stepped outside of the boundaries.
Yeah.
You're like, you're going to hear my voice.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if all teachers rallied together and said, you're going to hear our voice, and this is how we're going to educate our kids?
That's the goal. That's the dream. It's happening.
Yeah, you started the movement.
You are helping me with the but honestly, but for real, you helped me with that. Because I saw you, and the thing is, you can't model what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you when we had that child, that's really where a lot of my thinking come from, because I saw you being different with them. I saw you interacting with them differently, and it stuck in my head. And I just said to myself, why can she pull this child aside and in 3 seconds, all right, Mr. Campos, I'm sorry. Like, how did that happen?
Right.
How did I, I'm not even at the time I wasn't even equipped to like even understand that.
Yeah.
Because I think most teachers that have that student in the classroom are afraid of them.
Yeah.
And I was afraid. And I'll be honest with you. At the beginning, I was afraid. But then when I saw you...
Yeah. You're like, he didn't cut her head off. Yeah. He didn't pull out a gun and shoot her.
So why?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, thank you, and you handled it for me, I wanted to know why. And I watched you and I realized you're just being yourself.
Yeah.
You're just being you.
Yeah.
Unapologetically you.
And they know that I have good days and bad days.
And they're okay with that.
They're okay with that.
Because it's real.
Yeah.
Because it's real. And that's what they want. All kids want real.
That's all they want.
That's all they want. And if you're real with them, they will respond so just... It's refilling to them. Yeah. It really is. And you are just real. You're 100% real.
Yeah, it's like, if you do it again, I'm going to tell your mama. And it'd be like, you literally told my mama. Yes. I did.
And I told you I was going to.
And not only did I tell your mama, I was at your house when I told her. So when you came home, I was in your living room telling it. And the mama is like, you know, she had to clean her stuff up because she even shocked. Like, this woman is in my house. And I need to know what's going to be done about it. That's how I'm talking to the parents. Like, what are the consequences for this? Because he get consequences at school. So what are we going to do here, mama? And then it becomes a wraparound approach where I'm helping the mother to facilitate the behavior at home. So it's like, she's a God, like, oh my God, where'd she come from? And then that's how I developed the relationship with the parents. It's like, she literally cares for my child. But I get it. I don't have to do that to 217 kids. I just got to do it to 6 or 7, you know? So,
but those 6 or 7,
yeah, they're equivalent to 217.
Well, and it's not, and that's not a disparaging remark. It's just saying the value that you're bringing is that impactful. I know a lot of people don't think that maybe, but I've seen it. I've seen the changes that you make in these kids' lives, and it really does echo. Because as a teacher, if I know you're taking care of this one child, maybe I'm not equipped to do that. Maybe I just can't do that as a teacher. But if I know you're doing this, and that child, I can, you know, once you've taken care of the emotional stuff, I can come in with my academic stuff. Yeah.
And that's all I want to happen. Right. Like, I don't want to deal with your academic stuff. Right. Just let me deal with the behavior, right? Because I know that they have to learn, they have to get out of here. So allow me to deal with the behavior, and then you can teach. Right. Yeah, it's a perfect marriage.
It is when it's done correctly, when it's done with love. Yeah. When you like you say, when you bring that love. When you're motivate through when you're love driven. Yeah. When you're love driven.
Love driven action coach.
Love driven action. Yeah. You're that, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's simple.
Okay, so with that being said, it's the end of school year.
It's the end of the school. Yes.
And teachers are like ready to just, I want to be done. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm ready to lay on my couch. I'm ready to do this and that and the other. How can we help these teachers, or anybody really? How can we help them recharge? How can we help them refuel? How can we help them get back in? And that's why we're talking. So there's 5 steps. There's 5 steps. There's 5 steps to make your summer truly your summer, and you're going to talk about them.
Yes.
Because it's important. Because it's important not only that we do that, but it's also important that we understand that when we give as educators or whatever, we're really giving.
Yeah, like wholeheartedly.
Body, mind, and soul.
Yeah.
I mean, heart. I mean, we're giving everything.
I don't think that people really understand what you guys do. I couldn't do it. Like, I could not do your job.
Okay, but see, here I am looking at you.
Right.
And here I am thinking, I couldn't do your job either.
Yeah.
So, so I'll let you go. All right.
Okay. So you got to get a pencil and paper, because everything I do is action-based. That's why I'm the love-driven action coach. So, because I just feel like you can't learn unless you are, like, in movement, right? So we good up there?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. So get you something to write with, because we're going to I got a call coming in. So we're going to do this. It's an activity, and you're going to have to write and think. So Mr. Campos said, master coach. I made him call me master coach because he had put teacher. I was like, no, call me master coach. So master coach, like, how can we get the teachers thinking about like impacting and dominating their summer, right? And so I really didn't have a 5-step plan, and I had to really think about it. With not just with teachers in mind, just with me, just how I think about my life when I need to self-care, right? So self-care is daily for me, but for someone where it's not really daily, and you allow like all of the stress from your job, like regardless of what industry you in, to just fill you up. So we're thinking about a cup, right? And so when you first start at that job, like, your cup is full because you're excited. Like, you're excited about the job. You're going to implement all these goals, and then boom, you get to the job and you have all these guidelines and these restrictions, and then your cup just starts to deplete. So you're on empty. So now we're at the end of maybe it's time for your vacation, right? Because the summer is vacation time for teachers. And so, like we said, this is not just for teachers, it's for anyone that needs to refuel, recharge, and rejuvenate. So I came up with these 5 things, and I think that after we really discuss them, you're going to be like, this is going to work for me. So the first thing is, like, I lead a heart-centered practice, and everything that goes wrong in our life is because we're separated from love. The learning gap is love. This is what I tell people all the time. Like, you cannot challenge me on it, because I'm telling you, whenever you can bridge love back, life is just so much better, right? And so you got to rebuild the heart. That's the first thing you have to do. So how do you rebuild a heart? So just think about, like, the teachers that are listening right now. Think about everything you did right this school year, and you're so proud of it. Like, whatever it is, you may have set some goals, and you, like, slayed those goals. Like, you did really well, and celebrate yourself for that. So that's going to rebuild the heart right there, because you need to always start out with the positive, right? So think of everything you did right in your classroom, and even in your personal life too, like during 187 days?
Yeah, 187.
Yeah, 187 days. And celebrate yourself for those things, right? Then I want you to think of all of the things that you did not do right. Right? So it's those goals that you knew that you were going to do them, but maybe you got sidetracked because your administrator discouraged you, or, I don't know, you got caught up in, y'all, education is like the messiest field ever. You got caught up in the mess that goes on inside the school, man. It's so, like, political inside the school, and it's so, like, territorial here. Teachers are so territorial, and so maybe you got caught up in that, and you you just missed the mark on those goals. So write those things down, like things that you wanted to accomplish but you didn't, right? And then the things that you didn't accomplish, why didn't you accomplish them? So brainstorm that, because during the rebuild the heart, it's the reflection part. It's the reflection piece. So you got to really reflect, because reflection centers you back to the heart. So why didn't you give yourself permission to be like kick ass in those goals? So think about those, and I want you to give yourself permission. So let's just say you said that outside of all of the, if you're an English teacher, so outside of all of the district required reading that you were going to do, you were going to introduce something that you were passionate about, but you were afraid to do it for whatever reason, right? And I want you to give yourself permission to do that the next time you have the opportunity, and just find those little nuggets where you're going to give yourself permission to dominate in the goals that you were not successful in. So that's the first part of rebuilding your heart. So list everything that you did very, very well and you're so proud of yourself. And I want you to celebrate it. Like, pat yourself on the back, give yourself a little squeeze, take yourself to dinner, have a glass of wine, whatever you do, but celebrate it. And the way you celebrate is you literally got to write the stuff out. Like, you got to be action takers and write it out. And then the things that you did not do well, the goals that you did not give yourself permission to do, write those out and write why, and spend some time with that. Spend some time analyzing why you didn't take charge of that, and then give yourself permission to do it the next time you had an opportunity. So number 2 is the forgiveness process. So the forgiveness process is when we have to just say, you know what? Maybe I didn't spend as much time with that one student for whatever reason. Maybe it was, cultural biases. Because, don't get me wrong, we do have them, and subconsciously we don't even know that those things are happening, because we don't understand the economic status of the child, or we don't understand the language barriers of the child, and so we may give this child more attention over here than this one over here because we just can't relate, even as adults, and that's okay. But it's a forgiveness process that you need to go through the summer so you can become better in that area, because we as teachers, as educators, won't admit that. We won't admit that we give more to students that we understand better to the others. I observed you in your classes, so it happened, and it's okay. It's a part of life. But can you be in a place of reflection where you honor that, right? Because we're talking about leading a heart-centered classroom. That's how you do it. So just forgive yourself for that, and write that out. Like, I'm going to be better with students that I may not connect with, who are black, white, Hispanic, whatever, who come from poverty driven, whatever. You understand what I'm saying? It's okay, because you're human. And we all fall short, right? And when you go through college, they don't tell you that you're going to get Johnny who, come from foster care. They don't tell you that you're going to get, Adam who, has a record already at the age 14. They don't tell you those things. They just say, hey, you're going to go in and you're going to teach science, and you're going to be this great, magnificent science teacher. And then a culture shock happens when you get this melting pot of a classroom kids, and you have literally 217 kids to get to know. So I want you to go through the forgiveness process and just write those things, because you are well aware of them, but you ignore them. What you do is you plant them in your subconscious mind, or you plant them in your unconscious mind. You just totally wipe it away because you still have that guilt there. Like, damn, like I really should have done better. And I'm giving you permission to say, forgive yourself for it, and let's move forward, right? Because really it's up to you to change your own perspective, right? Okay. So the third one is create a positive flow, which is my favorite. So for summer, I think I counted like you have what 9 weeks for summer. I think you have 9 weeks for summer. So I want you to get you a calendar and like literally in the calendar. See, Mr. Campos is a teacher and he have these raggedy markers up here. These kids can't see this stuff up here. Okay. So if you y'all, because this is how my brain is, and so I have to see what I'm talking about. So I literally want you to get you a calendar, and I want you to create you a positive flow. So what does that look like, LaKendra? Okay, it looks like this is week 1, 2, 3, 4, and just number your weeks, okay? And in every week, I want you to create self-care for yourself. So this week, if it's like, I'm going to go get a massage. It doesn't matter what day you're going to go get it on, but it's for you. This week, I'm going to link up with my brother. Because me and my brother are like this. And so I'm going to link up with him this week. In week 3, I don't know. I'm going to read a good book. Right? In week 4, I'm going to start going to the gym. Right? Week 5, maybe take yourself to dinner or a movie. But all of these weeks is going to be just about you. It's not going to be about your children. It's not going to be about anything unless the children is giving you that positive energy. So maybe it's, spend some time with my kids, take them on vacation or blah, 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 as long as you're interacting in it. But this calendar should be a positive energy flow for you. Does that make sense? So think about that. And when you go to number 4, learn to say no, which is the hardest thing for educators to do, because you don't get enough praise as it is. And I see it all the time because I work with you guys, right? And it's just like, but I created that, and a department head got, the accolades for it or whatever, and you the one that stayed up here late, and it was the department head that presented it to the administrator. And so, but you don't get the accolades for it, or you really don't get a pat on the back from anybody, but from your students. So I just want you to learn how to say no, because I'm notorious for it. They be like, LaKendra, can you teach? Can you teach this workshop for us? I'd be like, no, I don't even think I'm here on that day. I ain't doing it. You know what I'm saying? If it's not a part of my job description, y'all, I am not doing it. So I want you to learn how to say no, especially during this process, during your 8-week process, when husband says, especially if you're not feeling it. If he says, babe, are you going to cook every day this week? Or if you be like, honey, are you going to be cooking every day this week? If it's not if it's not mapped in here, you say no. Because this is how you're going to cause the disruption in the flow. Because people always ask me, LaKendra, how are you able to do it? Because I'm constantly causing disruptions in my calendar that is feeding my self-care, right? Because when you're thinking about a cup, you have the cup, and I need it to be in an overflow, right? And if it's not in an overflow, I can't give to you. So I need for this calendar, and plug in your calendar where you're going to be super mom or super dad or super girlfriend or super boyfriend, where, it's like, okay, I'll keep the kids on this day, or I'll, hang out with you on this day, or you want to help me, I'll help you move, I'll help you organize your room. When you're doing stuff for other people, but I want it to be less. I want it to be less of that time in your 8 weeks, okay? So learn to say no. And the important week is when you get to So I said it was 8 weeks, right?
Yes.
You have an 8-week break. When you get into the 8 week, this is when you can start thinking about school. Because in the 9th week you go back. So this is when you start to think about school. This is where in the 8th week is when I need for you to start redoing your school goals and saying to yourself, going down to number 5, I said it, set kick-ass unapologetic goals, right? So in week 8, this is when that happens. I don't want you to think about school at all. I don't even want you to go to summer school. Like, do not teach summer school. Make them hire some outside people. They know that you're going to be suckers and do it. Because they're like, how much is it? How much is for the summer? How much is it for the summer? I think I'll get, what, like 5,000?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's a lot.
It's like, yeah.
It's a good amount.
But y'all are so depleted when you come back. Because you literally spend 6 weeks in summer school. And then in this 7th week, you're drained and you're tired. And you're still like winos. Because teachers are winos, right? He's laughing. He knows I'm telling the truth. You know, you're drinking your life away because you're so frustrated and you're tired. And then in week 8, you ain't got your hair colored. You got all your gray still in your hair. You ain't went and bought you a new wardrobe because teachers, y'all know we dress awful. Like, we roll out of the bed and come to school. I know because I've been doing this for over 15 years. And then week 8, because you've done no self-care. You've done no self-care. You're still the same person you were 8 weeks ago. And that cycle starts all over again. Like, you still go back in with the same heart, and you have good intentions, but you didn't plan for it. So that's why I call myself the love-driven action coach. Because without any action, you can't cultivate the love, right? And love takes work. We know that in any type of relationship, it takes work. So there has to be a process in order for you to be effective in your job. And not just teaching. We're just talking teaching right now. But just in your job, period. How are you nurturing yourself to be the best employee that you can be? Are you complaining all the time? If you are, you probably need to go to look at one of these steps. Rebuild the heart. Like, what is your why behind going into that profession? Something drove you there, right? So connect back with that. Connect back with your heart. Forgive your process. Because sometimes we get caught up in the process. Like, even as entrepreneurs, Mr. Campos, that I was talking about, you know, like when you make your first $10,000 and it's like, wow, like I made that. And then you made 20,000 and 30, like it starts building, like the momentum of your profit starts to build. Then you lose the heart because then it becomes about the money. So then the value that you would want to give, you no longer give, right? So the process is the same across the board. I don't care what profession you're in. It's like when the momentum of the money starts, then we lose this. So how do we keep staying here is we have to keep going through the forgiveness process. Like forgiving yourself until it becomes like second nature. Like always valuing your customer, your consumer with the heart and keeping you in a positive flow, which is the disruption of self-care that we do not do because we think that we gotta like grind so hard. You know, what they say, ball till you fall? No. Don't ball till you fall. Because falling is death to me, right? You need to ball until, you know, I don't know. What's another?
Ball until you need a drink.
You need to create a flow that's gonna center you back here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So this centers you back here. Right? Everything points to here. Saying no. Learn how to say no. You know, I say no all the time. I have people ask me to do podcasts all the time, and I'll be like, that's really not my thing. It really has to be in alignment with who I am. And then these kick-ass unapologetic goals, I dare you to stand up for what you believe in, like Mr. Campos has done next school year. I dare you to say, you know, look, I'm giving y'all 187 days. I'm doing exactly what you're asking me to do. My test scores are bomb.com. I'm doing this in my classroom for my kids. Like, this is for my sanity and theirs. I dare you to be unapologetic and set those goals for yourself, because it gives you a sense of freedom. It gives you individuality to make. Mr. Campos, weren't you like teacher of the year?
Teacher of the month.
It don't matter. He was teacher of something, and that's because he has figured out how just to be himself in his classroom, and I love that about him. So these are my 5 steps to creating a bum ass summer. Was that what it is?
Yay! No, that was awesome. All right, so pay attention to these things. Watch these things. Okay, pay attention to these things. Watch these things. I mean, absolutely incredible. I loved it. And for real, people, for real, don't think that this is just some hogwash or this is just some makeup stuff. This is real.
Yeah.
This is very, very real. Talking from someone who has 15 years of experience, someone who is literally in charge of helping other people cultivate this life. Because I'm going to tell you something, the number one thing that is harming people is a lack of love. It's a lack of love. And when you can't rebuild your own heart, when you can't tune into yourself, when you don't have the self-care enough to say, okay, I'm hurting right now, I need to refill, I need to really take care of myself because my marriage is suffering, my kids are suffering, my work is suffering, my whatever is suffering. I have to take care of me. If you don't see that, especially teachers, because guess what? You guys give and give and give and give and give and give, but your summer is not meant to sit on a couch and catch up on Game of Thrones. I know, we're not even going to go into that. Guess what? I've never seen it, and she's never seen it either. You know why? Because we're doing this.
Yeah, it's so many more things to life than I don't know.
TV show.
Yeah, I don't even really watch television, but
there's
so I mean there's this is what I say. I say whatever you pour into the kids, which is so naturally done. Why is it so difficult for you to give it to yourself? Why don't you think that you're good enough, or why don't you think you deserve that? You deserve it. So I really say it's like a false sense of, it's a false gift that you're giving because you can't even give it to yourself, which is why the kids are not receiving it.
There you go.
You can't give something that you're not, but you really are that, because that's why you're able to do it. So just become it. Is all we're saying. Become what it is that you envision, and the energy will flow upwards instead of downwards, right? Because we're talking about science.
Well, unrestricting the flow.
Yeah.
Unrestricting it.
Exactly.
Because the thing is this, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you feel that energy, like I want to give, I want to do for these kids, I want to be there,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to wake up and take care of myself. I'm not going to get the rest that I need. I'm not going to eat right.
Let me help you, because she's honest. I'm going to get up, I ain't going to comb my hair and come to work. I'm not going to iron my shirt. I'm going to come with these holy jeans on. I see y'all when y'all come in the building. I'm going to drink coffee all day. I'm not going to even eat properly. I'm not going to even have a break because I'm freaking grading papers like all the time. Like, teachers, y'all have to get it together. Yeah. That's why y'all looking at me when I have a 4-inch heel on walking down the hall. Like, where'd she come from? Because I self-care and I'm able to do that.
And you're absolutely right, because here's something that I see all the time. You are not a cool teacher because you don't go to the bathroom. That is like, I didn't pee all day. That's wrong.
Right.
That is not a badge of honor.
No.
That is not anything you need to be proud of, especially the elementary school people. That is not something to be proud of. If you didn't pee all day, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Why did you not pee all day? Why didn't you think I need to take care of this basic primal need and do that for yourself?
Yeah. And
Like-
then, and 3 years down the road, that has now become a health
A
benefit.
UTI or who knows whatever.
Well, the little slingshot, so you know the slingshot that goes on your arm, they have one for your bladder.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And you're going to be walking around at 30 with a slingshot on your bladder.
Yeah, and why? Why?
So you can say that, I don't know. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. But that's
get
what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you think you're cool because you didn't go to the bathroom, or if you want to wear that badge of honor, like, oh, I didn't go to the bathroom all day, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You have to. Take care of that. Rebuild that heart. Go through the forgiveness process. Create a positive flow. Learn to say no and say yes to you. And then set kick-ass, unapologetic goals because you deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You deserve it. Make this summer yours. This is how you're going to make your summer yours. And then when you come back on that 8th week, you are going to kick ass and take names and serve your kids the way you really, truly want to.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
All right. Anyways, fantastic. Thank you so much for this.
You.
Love this. Love this. This is absolutely impactful. Watch this again. Take notes. I'm serious. Take a piece of paper. I mean, seriously. Summer's about to start. You need to do this. You really do. This is something. I'm going to do this. Okay? I'm going to do this.
I'm going to do it.
You're going to do it.
I just created this today.
We're all going to do this. You need to do this. Keep track of it. Tag her. Let her know your progress. Tag me. Let me know your progress. But seriously, make this a priority for you this summer. Thank you so much for your time. Love it. Don't forget to seal with a smile. Check out your girl over here.
What'd you think? Huh? I'm telling you, those 5 steps are the real deal. There are so many people that are relying on you, not only in your classroom, but also in your personal life. You have to learn how to take care of yourself. You have to put in that self-care and love yourself and really, truly take care of who you are as an individual, as a soul, because so many people rely on you to be the best version of yourself you can be. And if you apply that self, if you really try to be the best version of self you can be, you will model that for your students, and your students and everyone around you will become better for that very same reason. So huge gratitude and humbling, and thank you so much, Kendra. Seriously, to take the time out of your insane, busy international schedule to sit down and talk with me, to talk with everybody here about this stuff is so valuable. So thank you so much, Kendra, for taking that time. 5 steps to make your summer truly your summer. Implement that. Don't just throw that piece of paper on the table and walk away from it. No. Right now, implement it. She's a love-driven action coach for a reason. Everything she put in there is love-driven. Now it's up to you to put that into action. So put it into action. Make this summer yours. Recharge, refuel, re-love yourself. That way you can be the best version of yourself you can be. So thank you so much for Kendra. Thank you to you for watching this episode, checking it out on the podcast, wherever you're listening or watching, however you're doing. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and implement those things to do the 5 steps. And I will catch you next time. Hey, want to create your own self-driven classroom? Check out sealitwithasmileschool.org. There you'll find out all the information you need to know about my online course, The Self-Driven Classroom, The Queen Bee. Transform yourself, transform your classroom, transform your life.